Hello and what's up YouTube? In this video, I will show you how I replaced the chain and sprocket of my Honda CRF250L. These are the new genuine Honda parts I will install on the bike. I am changing the chain and two sprocket as I said. I initially ordered the endless type chain with the exact 106 links, but they don't have it on stock and I was instead given this O-ring type chain that I have to cut to the correct length myself. It is a good idea to clean the bike to remove the mud and debris from the rear wheel and swing arm before starting the repair. I start off by removing the drive sprocket cover held by these two bolts. Dirt usually accumulates at the back of this cover, so this is a good time to clean that area. Here is the old chain and you can see that it is so worn out that it is very loosely engaged to the rear wheel sprocket. I previously used a removable master link on this chain to simplify the installation. So I just removed the clip with a pair of pliers and off goes the old chain. Otherwise, a grinder with a cutting disc can be used to cut off the old chain. To remove the engine sprocket, we have to remove the two bolts on the sprocket fixing plate. Then, turn the fixing plate a little bit so it aligns with the shaft splines and pull out the sprocket. This engine sprocket is more than 10 years old. It has never been replaced since the bike was new. You can see how much worn it gets compared to the new engine sprocket. I installed the new drive sprocket with the markings facing out. Then goes the sprocket fixing plate held by two attaching bolts. I applied Loctite to the attaching bolts for a peace of mind. I shift the transmission to first gear so the engine sprocket does not rotate while tightening the attaching bolts. With the engine sprocket taken care of, I then turn my attention to the new chain. The chain has to be cut to exact 106 links. The new chain I got is slightly longer. I don't have the special chain tool, so I just use a grinder to grind off the rivet heads. Then I use a cold chisel to pop off the extra chain links. The new chain is supplied with this special link to connect the chain and form an endless loop. It came with 4 new O-rings and we have to form the rivet heads of the pins. I will attach the chain without removing the swing arm. To do that, I lace the chain around the swing arm like so. Then, I lay the bike down to its left side so that the chain is flat on the floor, like so. The chain is then joined to form an endless loop via the supplied special link. I used a cold chisel to push the link plate in place, making sure the ends of the pins protrude to the plate. Then I formed the rivet heads of the two pins by hammering the tips. The rear wheel sprocket has 6 bolts that has to be removed. This is where I encountered difficulty because only 3 out of 6 bolts was able to be removed the normal way. The remaining 3 bolts will not come off easily. 2 bolts I had success using WD-40 and the impact driver. But the last one, as you can see here, is so tight that the hexagonal slot just rounded off. For this last bolt, I simply weld the bolt head to the sprocket. These parts will have to be replaced anyway. And this is the reason why some bolts got stuck. The ends of some bolts had thread damage. There was one time while riding the bike in the trails that the chain got off the sprocket, and that must have damaged the tip of the bolts. I have to order all new 6 bolts with the washers and nuts for the rear sprocket, and that takes time. This job took longer than I initially thought of, what should have been an easy, straightforward task. Again, I am using thread Loctite to secure the bolts in place for a peace of mind. Then I tighten all the bolts, and that does it for the rear wheel sprocket. And lastly, I reinstalled the rear wheel to the swing arm. The chain has no removable master link this time. Then I adjust the chain tensioner to the recommended chain slack of about 25 to 35 mm. Make sure that the index point location is the same for both sides. I started the engine and put the bike in gear to turn the rear wheel and check for smooth sprocket and chain engagement. In hindsight, I should have tried to loosen each bolt of the rear wheel sprocket before the actual disassembly. If it is too difficult to loosen the bolts and nuts, then I should have ordered new bolts and nuts together with the new chain and sprocket, because it is very likely to damage the hexagonal socket of the bolts during disassembly. That is all for this short video, and I hope it helps. Thank you very much for watching.